Hey everyone, we are almost nearing the end of chapter 1, observing the army on the battlefield. So far, we have read till text 30, and we saw that having blown the conch shells, both the parties are now ready to fight. But before that, Arjuna wanted to see who all he would be fighting against, and thus he asks Krishna, his charioteer, to take his chariot in the middle of the battlefield so that he can clearly see who all are standing on the opposite end of the battlefield. We also saw how Arjuna started shivering and quivering after seeing his own relatives and family members standing to fight him in the battle. He gets overwhelmed and questions the need of fighting such a battle. With all sorts of questions in his mind, he turns to Krishna and describes his dilemma. Let us go ahead today and see text 31 to 36 and understand what was troubling Arjuna so much and why. Text 31. न च श्रेयो अनुपश्यामि हत्वा स्वजनम अहावे न कांसे विजयम कृष्ण न च राज्यम सुखानि च. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. The detailed meaning of this text says, without knowing that one's self-interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. Under delusion, they forget that Krishna is also the cause of material happiness. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for a Kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya who dies directly in the front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the person in the renounced order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture, are eligible to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thought that by killing his kinsmen there would be no happiness in his life, and therefore he was not willing to fight, just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook. He has now decided to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration, but as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence, because the Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. But Arjuna has had no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lay in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live a secluded life of frustration. Now let us see texts 32 to 35. Kim no rajyena govinda, kim bhogair जीवितेन वा येषाम् अर्थे कांक्षितं नो राज्यं भोगा सुखानि च त इमे अवस्थिता युद्धे प्रणांस्त्यक्त्वा धनानि च आचार्य पितरः पुत्रास् तथैव च पितामहः मातुलाः श्वशुराः पौत्राः शालाः सम्बन्धिनस् तथा एतान् न हन्तुम् इच्छामि घ्नतो अपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्य राज्यस्य हेतो किं नु मही कृते निहत्य धारताराष्ट्रान्न का पृथि स्याज जनार्दन. O Govinda, of what avail to us are kingdoms, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we desire them are now arrayed in this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brother-in-law, and all relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, then why should I wish to kill them, though I may survive? O maintainer of all creatures, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. The detailed meaning of this text means Arjuna has addressed Lord Krishna as Govinda because Krishna is the object of all pleasures for cows and the senses. By using this significant word, Arjuna indicates what will satisfy his senses. Although Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses, if we try to satisfy the senses of Govinda, then automatically our own senses are satisfied. Materially, everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God to be the order of supplier for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they desire, but not to the extent that they may covet. But when one takes the opposite way, namely, when one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entity are satisfied. Arjuna's deep affection for community and family members is exhibited here partly due to his natural compassion for them. He is therefore not prepared to fight. Everyone wants to show his opulence to friends and relatives, but Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed in the battlefield and he will be unable to share his opulence and after victory. This is a typical calculation of material life. The transcendental life is, however, different. Since a devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord, and if the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a farthing. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there were any need to kill them, he desired that Krishna kill them personally. At this point, he did not know that Krishna had already killed them before their coming into the battlefield, and that he was only to become an instrument for Krishna. This fact is disclosed in the following chapters. As a natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers, but it was the Lord's plan that they should all be killed. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore, the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. Now let us see text 36. Papam eva shrayed asman hatvaitan atatayena tasman narha vayam hantum dharata rashtran swabandh dhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syama madhava. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? So let's see what Arjuna tries to say in these verses. According to the Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors: a poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who plunders riches, one who occupies another's land, one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting for any ordinary man, but Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people were anxious to live in his kingdom, Ramarajya, but Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Ram because he kidnapped Rama's wife Sita, but Lord Ram gave him sufficient lessons unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not, therefore, consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsmen? Arjuna's understanding of Krishna as Madhava, or the husband of goddess of fortune, is also significant to this connection. He wanted to point out to Krishna that as the husband of goddess of fortune, he should not have to induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. So friends, we see in today's text that Arjuna is all the more determined now not to fight. He is reasoning out the same and giving all possible assertions to conclude that this battle is of no use to anyone. Lord Krishna is listening to all his questions and worries silently and letting him speak all that he is feeling standing there on the battlefield. So tomorrow we would see the remaining texts from text 37 to 46, which would conclude the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita as it is. If you are tuning to my channel for the first time, I request you all to go through my previous videos, including the intro video, by clicking on the link above. If you like listening to me reciting the holiest eternal knowledge to you, do share it with your friends and family, and do not forget to hit the subscribe button to get regular notifications. Stay tuned for the next video.